So there's been a lot of big discussions lately on different forums, and inside the masterclass that we teach, a lot of people are questioning regenerative farming, asking questions about it. Everybody knows what it is, and we might go over that, but everyone's wondering if that's going to be the new organic, and if one equals to the other, is one better than the other? Should we aim to be more one than the other as organic growers ourselves? And I think these are all really interesting questions to explore. I have thoughts about that. When I started in farming, conventional farming was opposed by the word sustainable farming. That was the big word, sustainability, the whole concept of not depleting the soils when you're farming, when you're cultivating. And regenerative farming came to be the opposite, where not only are we not just sustaining or not depleting, but we want to improve soils as we're working them. And that hit mainstream because of, I think, how loosely defined it is, because it allows a lot of people to get in, although it's really positive. There's been a lot of really interesting movies made about regenerative farming. Kiss the Ground is one, a lot of people saw that. Permaculture kind of got sucked into that also. But regenerative farming, the principles, if we talk about that, they're aligned with organic farming. Both talk about crop rotation, both talk about no-till systems or minimal tillage systems, where you're really trying to not disturb the ecology of the soil, or even better, to improve it. Increasing biodiversity on the farm, creating habitats for not just insects, but also birds, making sure that we have an systemic approach to not just cropping vegetables, let's say, but also creating ecosystems. And so for me, all of these are really positive. And then if we look at organic farming, what we're talking about is mostly not using pesticides and not relying on synthetic fertilizers. And I think that was at one point, and it still is, really important, because conventional farming and what we're seeing in our shelves at the supermarket is all based on farming that depletes soil, that is really just sustained because they're the fertilizers and because they're using a ton of pesticides, a ton of herbicides. And in that way, organic farming is great, because it's just clear-cutting what it is and what it isn't, which I feel that's where regenerative farming is not so tight. It's kind of open-ended. And I would say that if I was to have if I were to have some afterthoughts about that system, is that, all the big corporations now want to be regenerative. They're all claiming slowly that they're doing it. McCain, Nestle, you name it, they're all into that space. And sometimes I wonder, not really greenwashing, but I'm just wondering if the impact of large-scale industrial farming, the shift towards something that's better is good, but isn't that the problem in itself? And that's what I believe. I've always thought that having resiliency through multiplication of small farms, family farms, communities being fed by many, 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 many small farms, in my opinion, is really how we create a truly sustainable regenerative system. The big farms, big ag, big marketing around that, I'm always doubtful. And I'm hoping that people that are big supporters of regenerative farming, that are working in those fields, will allow me to have that mindset, because as a small organic farmer, I believe in what we do. And I think that's super important. And all my friends, that's what they do. And having people come in, like at the old mill today, at our market, to get their veggies, that's what I think the real revolution. That's what I think is what's out there that needs to be propelled. And Big Ag has a hard time competing with that. I can tell you that. So it's Friday, late afternoon, and as you'll see, we have our market. We have the market that has started. So we have people coming every Friday from 4 to 6. And then we have the farm to table tonight. There's a lot of people at the restaurant. So remember, the garden here at the old mill, the goal is to service the restaurant, the inn. Also, there's 5 rooms. And already we have so many people coming. It's so encouraging. So I'm really excited about that. So what I'm doing, just so you know, I'm inoculating the whole garden with this formula that I made, 500 formula. And this was the test that we made with the compost tea. You might have seen that in a couple of previous episodes of Digging Deeper, but it's really looking nice. Like, it's hard to see the difference between our test of front and back, but man, this green manure looks really good. We're also using these row covers. Obviously, people know about row covers, and if you don't, you can really look up some of the previous material on YouTube about it. But row covers in the spring and in the fall, you know, they're just so valuable because they can create microclimates, they'll stop the frost, they can really speed up the germination. But in the summer, they're also good because when you're trying to germinate direct-seeded crops, you need to keep the soil moist to have that good germination. And those row covers, they help with that. They retain the moisture. So we'll water the soil, and then we'll put the row covers, and we can even water over the row covers, and they'll retain the moisture. You know, it doesn't allow the wind to kick in. So in the summertime, when we have direct-seeded crop like carrots that need to be constantly moistened so that, you know, the seeds will germinate, we keep them covered with these floating row covers. I've started to mulch a lot of these crops that will be in the garden for a long time. And the mulch that I have is amazing. It's a litter that comes from a duck farm. And so the litter is free because they're giving it to me, but it's also, you know, fueled with all of this duck manure. I think we've talked about that in the past. Okay, let's talk about cover crops. So this is a nice cover crop. It's hairy vetch mixed with rye. And cover crop is in both regenerative and organic farming. And that's really a key component of having healthy soils, because the cover crops, their main goal is not only to protect the soil because it's planted and it's not bare, but it has a root system that's really digging down. It's opening the soil, creating channel for air, for, you know, all of the microorganisms that are in the ground to have food, because the cover crop, when you'll mow it or when you're terminating it, it has all this root system that's decaying, and that's providing organic matter in the bottom of your soil, which is a big reason why you'll have an active, healthy, ecological soil. So cover crops, really important. These are really looking nice. I've put some ramule wood chip that we made in the aisles, and now I'm inoculating the bed with you know, those microorganisms tested with biodynamics. And for some of you that might have been following me for a few years, like, I don't usually do all these tests all at once, but I'm having a lot of fun now. And, you know, after 20 years of farming, I want to allow myself to do these things that I've been wanting to do for a long time. But because of my schedule of farming, which was really, you know, 8 to 5, super productive, we're pumping out veggies, we're going to markets, I was just like, I didn't have the time to do these things. But now here it's more laid back, and the garden is small, so I have time for that. So you see, this is here, all of this site, I want to do food forest, or what's verger?
An orchard.
Yeah, I want to plant an orchard here. I'm not totally sure, but look at the view of the gardens, how beautiful it is. With the restaurant happening, and, you know, there's a little market store Friday night. This was my dream. This was my dream, to create this garden that was nested just by the old mill, and have a lot of people come and visit and hang out and eat good food, local food, buy their veggies. And honestly, I'm super excited about where this project is heading, because it was a lot of work to create all of this. It's not done, but I just feel that we're kind of like end of June and the vision is realized. And it's exciting. So we've created a space where people come together and we're celebrating local farming. These two hoop houses, we've talked about them in the past. They're really nice. I really love them. They're from Tessier here in Quebec. I think they ship everywhere in the US, but they're Gothic, they're low tech, they're cheap, but they're really sturdy and they work well. I have my peppers growing in them and I have the cukes in the middle of them. And in another YouTube video, we showed you how to trace them. So that's really interesting. But if we're going inside the greenhouse, so we have all the summer crops that are in, some really nice courgettes that are here, chilies, hot peppers. Took a long time to put them in because we had some crops that we were still, you know, we had some carrots here previously, so it took a long time for these guys to get planted. Tomatoes, they're looking really nice. So these tomatoes are grown on 2 heads. We'll roll them every week. We'll prune them. I'm really excited about where I'm at right now. This project is not easy, but it's definitely a dream come true. It's been a long journey in farming. If you want to learn more about my journey, you can check out this video about 20 years of farming, where we're at. This is it for this week. I'll see you next time. Jay, I'm out.